Hello, hello, everyone. It is Brenda here for Stamplicity, and welcome to What's Up Wednesday. All right, so this evening we are going to take a look at Memory Box. So we've got a brand new Memory Box in a couple of weeks ago, and I've always been a lover of Memory Box. I love the simplicity of their dies and stamps and embossing folders. They're a really great quality at a really great price point as well. I thought this evening I would do kind of the latest release, do some cards and a layout to show you, yes, you can use your dies on a layout as well. So I'm going to be kind of using a few of the dies. From the latest collection. So let's just take a look at the dies we're going to be using. I just love them. Oh my gosh. If you've never used Memory Box before, maybe you're not familiar with it. They've been around for a while, and sometimes we carry them and then sometimes we don't. And I thought it was time to bring them back to Stamplicity because I do miss them. I do. So they do have like a wide variety of dies. They do stamps, and they do embossing folders. I believe they do stencils as well. So let's just take a look at what we will be doing this evening. Now I'm just going to switch my camera around so I am not so big. All right, there we go. All right, so the embossing folder. Now I did show this when it first came out. And I thought, and I told everyone, for those that have the Spellbinders fuchsia, magical fuchsia die, this is going to go along with it really nicely because this is a 3D embossing folder, and this one is called Fuchsia Cascade, which is just a beautiful cascade of those fuchsia florals and branches. Really, really beautiful. Now we're going to be using this as a background because it's a floral and we're going to be working with florals. So I'm going to show you what that looks like when it's all done. For those that do have the magical fuchsia line from Spellbinders, you're going to want this one. I'm just saying, it coordinates so beautiful with it. All right. There's that. So we're going to play with that one. And then these are just some of the other ones we will be using this evening. All right. So this is called Brilliant Butterflies. And they're dainty, they're sweet, and they're cute, and they're just, great sizing for card makers. All right. So on this one here, you are going to get all those different sizes and the bodies. All right, so all the wings and all the bodies. All right, so I'll show you how to put those together when the time comes. So we'll be using that one. This one here I'm in love with. This is called Oval Eyelet Rectangle Frame, and take a look at this. All right, I've already pre-cut this one out, but take a look at the detail on here. So pretty. This is the largest one that's going to fit on an A2 card nicely, and then they go down in size. So you're going to be able to layer and mix and match, which I love. All right. So that's the oval eyelet rectangle frames. And then the center attraction for this evening is going to be the peonies. All right. And I love peony florals. I'm so disappointed because my peonies just kind of, all the petals just fell in my garden. So they are just basically finished, but I love peonies. They're beautiful. My aunt and uncle actually have a peony farm in Niagara Lake. And then my cousin also has a large farm in the Delhi area that they grow peonies and dahlias. And honestly, it is amazing just walking through the fields when they're all in bloom. It is amazing. But anyways, this is kind of our main attraction here, which is going to be this one. So I'm going to show you how to put this one together. It looks complicated, but it really isn't. All right. Memory Box makes it really simple to put these kind of layered florals together. We're going to partner that up with a Peony Bud Duo. Obviously, that matches that nicely. You can use these individually or pair it up with the Peony Bloom. And then I love these wild leaves. Now, they do kind of mimic kind of a leaf from a peony, but when you see the die, it cuts out smaller than maybe you want, but we're going to make it work. All right. But I do love this one. This is a great filler die, as I call that. All right. So that's kind of the ones we're going to use. And then where I'm going to show you different ways on how to use the peony. We're going to do just out of plain cardstock. We are going to do some inking, and we're going to combine it with some embossing, and then I'm going to show you how to use it on a layout as well. All right, so let's get started. So for those that are joining us live, thank you so much for being here. If you're watching on the rewatch, thanks for making the time. When we appreciate you watching the videos and learning from us, and how and allowing us to educate you on these brands and these products. So thank you. All right. Thank you very much. All right. So let's get started. And I'm going to start with the Peony Bloom here. Now let's talk about some of the packaging on Memory Box. Now, some of the larger dies that have quite a few pieces, when you open them up, they will already be on a magnet sheet. Not all the dies will be like that. But this one here, when you pull it out, it only has 4 dies. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, but each of those dies have multiple pieces. To make one floral, you need this all right? So let's just talk about the different pieces here. All right. So these 2 pieces are kind of the main petals. They're going to create all those layers of the peony. These are the little stamens. All right. And then these here are little layers that are going to be attached to some of the petals to create more definition. All right. So you'll see it creates more texture and makes it more of a realistic floral. Um, and and you're going, well, where do I put those? I know you're all going to say, oh my gosh, those little pieces, where do I put them? Well, this is a Memory Box and how wonderful they are. The magnets and the pieces will slip in these great little envelopes, which makes it easy for storage. All right. So these little envelopes, for me, I have all my little, one moment. I have all my dies in the kind of these plastic cases. So this makes it really easy for storage because these will fit in nicely. I've got I have the picture, I have the name, and then on the back here is kind of the layering guide. All right. Now it's not a huge detailed one, but it's enough to make you understand how this all works. All right. So let me just get my tweezers and my little poker tool here just so I can show you. I'm going to bring this up. So you can see that they kind of layered the products together. All right. So when you die cut this all out, you're going to take this piece and this piece. All right. And they're going to go together and layer together. And then you'll notice the little pieces. All right. Those are those tiny little pieces. And they're showing you where exactly they have to go. All right. Then you have these pieces that kind of layer together. Again, you're going to have one of those little pieces right there. And that's just going to get layered on there. And then these 2 pieces layer together. Once you do one of these, it's really simple to do. I promise you. Just always refer back to that picture on the back of the packaging. That's going to be your best friend when you're putting these kind of layered ones together. Not all of these will have that, all right? Just these layering guys, like the buds will have it exactly shows you what to put together. And then like the rest of them will just have the pictures on there, but please refer back to the back of the packaging, and that's going to help you layer things together. All right. So all right, so let's get started with this. Now I've already taken the liberty of cutting everything out ahead of time. All right, so this one here, we're just going to use plain colored cardstock. I am using Spellbinders cardstock, which is 100 pound. That is my preference. And I've used it in, just sorry, get my little color swatch here that fell on the floor. So I've got this really pale peach, which is chiffon, which is one of my favorite colors. I just love that one. So chiffon, and then I am combining that with mint. So a nice pastel palette here, and then we're going to be layering it on white. All right, so really beautiful palette of colors, soft and beautiful. Okay, so when you cut this out, all right, so let's get rid of these wild leaves because that's not part of this die, but I will be using it on here. All right, when you cut this out, these are going to be all your pieces. So I'm going to lay them out. So again, I'm going to refer to the back of this one here. So my first little combination is going to be these 2 larger pieces. So I'm just going to kind of pair them up. All right, and then we have these 2 pieces. Again, I am referring to the back of the packaging. All right, so we have those 2 pieces. Then we have the stamen, which I should have colored in a different color. So we're going to change that color. All right. And then you're going to have these kind of 4 solid pieces that don't have any of the lines, the petal lines on there. So we're just going to layer them on. And then we have all those little pieces. All right. So I'm just going to keep them in my tray so I don't lose them. Okay, so first things first, I want to color my stamen. I don't want them the chiffon color. So I could die cut these out in a different color, but because this is such a light color of cardstock, an easy way to fix that or change the color is just using a marker to color. So I'm just going to grab my alcohol ink markers. And I am going to grab a yellow, and we're going to color these stamens yellow. All right, so because we've got soft colors, I don't want anything too bright. I'm going to go with a soft yellow. So I'm going to use my Olo markers, and I'm going to pick YO 2.2. That's a nice pastel yellow. All right, so I'm going to just color them. Now this one is a chisel tip, which I don't like. Must have been a freebie for me, but I'm just coloring this. So I'm just going right over top. It's going to go on a little bit darker, but then as the ink soaks in and dries, it will lighten up. All right. So that was quick and simple. And we've changed the color of our stamen now. All right. So I'm just going to put them to the side. And just going to clean up my mat here. Okay. All right, so let's start now with these little pieces. And again, I'm going to refer back. So I'm going to start with the biggest piece here. I'm going to look there, and I need this piece right here. All right, so I'm going to grab this. I'm going to grab my liquid glue and add. And then this is going to, it actually just matches the curvature of there. It's going to go right to the edge. And you're just going to place that on. And that's just going to add a little bit of texture, all right, and dimension. So it looks like that petal is almost kind of flipped to the side. All right, the next piece, I'm just going to follow along suit here, is going to be this piece. And this one here is going to go along this edge. All right, again, it's going to go from end to end. And it's just going to follow that curvature. All right, so that piece is now done. I'm going to go now to the bottom piece and get those 2 pieces here. I've done this a few times, so I know which pieces, but just double check your work. So we're going to need that piece and this piece here. And this is going to go on this little petal here. Again, it's going to go right to the edge, and it's going to kind of match into that point there. And then this other one, this is the worst part of it, is these little pieces. After this, it is smooth sailing. And this piece is going to go right in the bottom. You'll see that the curvature of the pieces match. So we're just going to stick that on right to the edge. And then you have one little piece left. This one little piece here is going to go on this large solid piece right at the top here. All right, again, it will match the curvature. And we're just going to stick that on. And I do recommend liquid glue for obvious reasons. All right, so now we've got all our little pieces on, and now it's really simple to do. Again, if you refer back to the picture here, it will show that this and this, it will show that this is kind of in the front of this one here. So that means you're going to layer that on there. So I am just going to put just a couple of dots on this base piece, all right? Just enough to tack it down. We're going to grab this one here, and I am just going to layer it so that the 2 edges in that little point kind of match up. And I will just kind of twist and turn until it looks good to me, all right? So then I'm going to just let that tack down, and there is our first layers. All right, so there's that. I'm going to leave that to the side, and I'm going to go to the next set. All right, so we're going to go here. You can see that this piece here is overlaying this piece here. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take those 2 pieces, and I'm just going to put a spotted glue right in the center of this piece, and we're going to take that other piece and just overlay it. All right, easy peasy. All right, so there is that one. All right, now we have these 4 solid pieces. This one is super easy. We're going to go from biggest to smallest. We're going to have the biggest layer in the bottom and work our way up to the smallest. They all have this kind of little rectangular stem, and that's where I'm going to put the glue. So I'm going to put a little dab of glue there. I'm going to take our next piece and I'm going to match up those 2 rectangular pieces. All right, how easy is that? All right, do the same thing. Now, I know you're all going to say that's going to create a lot of bulk, but yes, it will. But when we put this together, it's going to create that bulk in the center of the floral, and then it's going to create this kind of rounded floral. It's going to be gorgeous. All right, so again, I am just putting a little spot of glue on that little rectangular stem there and layering from biggest to smallest, all right? And there is that, all right? So I just matched all those little rectangle pieces, all right? Put them together, all right, to create that. All right, so now we're stuck with, or it's not stuck, but left with these 3 pieces and our stamen, all right? So we're gonna put our stamen on next. And they're going to go on this piece here. All right. So this kind of is the back side of the floral. Um, um, so let's just go ahead. You'll understand when I put this. I'm going to put just a big glob of glue on that rectangular stem. I'm going to bring that up. All right. So there's that. And then I'm going to grab I find one of these is a little bit fuller or wider. I'm going to take the wider one and I'm going to stick that on. Now I brought it up a little bit to the top of that rectangle. All right, so there is that. And then I'm going to take the one that's a little bit narrower and that is going to get stuck at the bottom. All right, and you don't want these matchy match. You kind of want them so that they create a really full stamen look. All right, so don't layer them exactly on top one another. You want so that we can see all the little arms and little pollen. All right, so there is that. Okay, now we have these 3 pieces and now this is simple. All right, so this is going to be our base. This is going to be kind of our base inside and this is going to be our overlay. All right, so sorry, I have excess glue there. I'm going to grab this piece here and I am going to put glue just kind of on the bottom half. All right, that's just me, enough to secure it. And we're going to stick that kind of right in the center of this piece here. All right, so we've got this look. Now it's starting to look more like a peony. All right, and now we want to cover up all this mess here, and that's what this piece is. All right, so before I put this piece on, I'm just going to use my fingers here and just give that piece a little curve. All right, so I've just kind of rounded it out. And then I'm going to, at the very center on the base of this, I'm going to put some glue and then just a little bit on the sides. And now I'm going to cover up that little stem. All right, so that. And then because I put glue on the edges as well, I'm just going to tack that down. I'm going to hold it in place. I'm going to hold this up in a second. And now we've got that front layer, but now we got some movement. We've got some dimension on our floral. All right, so let me just show you. All right, there it is. Look how pretty that is. All right, and we have this top piece because we've rounded it. It kind of conceals that stacked stem, that little rectangle stem, and it becomes more realistic. How beautiful is that? All right, so really not difficult to put together. Once you put your first one together, that's always the awkward one, as I say, right? But follow your little guides on the back here, and it's going to make this beautiful layered floral. And the more you do it, the more easier it becomes. All right. So there's our beautiful floral, our beautiful peony. Easy peasy. Let's put this on a card now. So I'm going to grab that beautiful eyelet scalped rectangle. This is the larger size. I just cut this out of my Neenah 110-pound white cardstock. Sorry, I'm just grabbing another layer to put this on. So if this is an A2 layer, so you can see that this will fit on a beautiful A2 card beautifully. All right, so there's that. All right, so now let's go ahead. Now I do not have a sentiment for this, but I will add a sentiment afterwards. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this up. I'm going to leave so that I have it, I think a sentiment up in the top corner here. All right. This is going to be a real kind of impactful card with that floral on there. I'm going to pop it up. So I'm going to grab some foam adhesives. All right. Now, again, you can do a little shaping of this floral as well. So I'm just kind of giving it some movement, and I'm going to place my foam adhesives kind of in the center so that kind of rounding will still kind of take effect on my card. All right. I don't want to put foam adhesives right to the outside because you know me, I love to tuck fillers in. All right. And that's where those leaves are going to come in. All right. So all right, let's place this at a bit of an angle. I'm going to center it left to right as best I can, but we're going to put it at a bit of an angle. All right, so we've got some nice dimension on the card. We've got it nice and rounded, and it just looks absolutely beautiful. Those pastel colors are lovely. All right, so then I just went and cut out some of this wild leaves. All right, so that was this die here. No layering or no nothing on this, and I cut that out of that mint. So for this one here, there are two larger stems. One kind of veers to the right and one veers to the left, and then two smaller stems, and the same thing. One will veer to the right and one will veer to the left. All right. So I'm just going to kind of place my leaves. Remember, I want to kind of put my sentiment in the top right hand or top left hand corner here. So I'm really loving how those kind of work in there. And then maybe we'll take another one just to fill in this kind of corner. Let's see, I'm just dry fitting everything first before I commit. Maybe we'll put both of these in here. Why not? We have them, right? Yeah, let's do that. All right. So when I put my filler in, I dry fit first, obviously, and then I will just put glue kind of on the bottom portion of those fillers. And then I'm just going to lift up my floral and stick it in. I got glue everywhere on that one. All right, again, I'm going to do the same thing just on that bottom portion, just enough to secure it. I kind of like the looseness of the fillers. And I'm keeping in the parameters of that scalped rectangle. All right. And then I'm going to let that glue set. And look how beautiful that is. All right. I may add a few little gems in there, but that is where I'm going to put my sentiment once I decide which sentiment I'm going to use. All right. Look how beautiful that is. Stunning. Lots of layers. All right. But not difficult to do by any means. All right. So that's just using plain cardstock. It's beautiful. Kept it light. This would have been very dramatic as well. If you did those, that dark burgundy or Merlot color. I know I have one set of peonies that are that beautiful Merlot color, and it's just stunning. And you can mix it on the white or on the black would be very dramatic as well. But yeah, peonies come in all different colors. So you could have some fun with that. All right. So I'm going to put that to the side to dry. And now let's move on to kind of our second one that we're going to do. But this one I cut out of all white cardstock. And we're going to do inking on this. All right. So I'm really excited because we're going to try this ink from 49 Market, which is Early Bird. Mine is still in the packaging, but I really think this color is beautiful. So we're going to try this out tonight. And I'm going to mix it up with some daffodil. All right. So early bird and daffodil are the two colors I will be using. All right. So again, I'm going to grab all my pieces here. And I just cut this out of my Neenah 110 Solar White piece, white cardstock. All right. So all these little pieces, we're going to ink with the blue ink. All right. And then I have my stamen, and the stamen we are going to do in the daffodil. So I'm just going to put those to the side. I did forget to grab my blending brushes, so I'm going to grab those. Okay, I don't know if I want to use kind of a bigger blending brush on these to create it like light and airy, or I'm going to use more of a smaller one. So I'm going to start with my, I put those all out and then I realized I don't have my grip mat. I'm going to grab my grip mat. This is going to allow me to place it on the grip mat and the pieces on the grip mat, and they're going to kind of slightly kind of stick on there so they're not going to move around while I am inking them. And my grip mat is just a little full of cat hair and dust and such. So I'm just giving it a little wipe down. That's going to reactivate the grip and take all the stuff I don't want on there. It's like my cat crawls up on this grip mat, and it doesn't. It's just, I don't know. Cat hair gets everywhere. And for those that have cat owners, you understand. Okay. That is nice and clean now. All right, let me get my pieces out again. All right, so our stamens, and then our petals. All right, so I'm just going to place these kind of on the grip mat so that they will grip. So all of them are face up. And I want to make sure that they're all in camera view. Okay, so I'm going to start with my little stamens. And like I said, I'm going to use daffodil. Just give you my little brush of clean because I have no idea what ink I used. It's a yellow ink, but if it's too intense, it's going to go on a little too bright. All right, so this one here, I'm just using a smaller brush. And then I'm just going to kind of swipe. I don't care if I'm okay if I don't get full coverage. I'm okay if I have darker tones and lighter tones. I think that's going to be kind of the beauty of this. All right, so those are colored. Easy, easy. Okay, early bird. Oh, I'm so excited about this color. Okay, I am going to start with my bigger brush, and then this is a pretty intense color, and these pads are saturated. So I am just going to tap off. And I'm just going, yeah, I'm going to use my bigger brush. I'm just going to do rotating motions, just adding a little color. Again, you can see I don't want this full coverage. I want to have lighter and darker tones. That is just beautiful. All right. It kind of reminds me of a Delft blue. All right. That's what I was hoping for. So there's that. So you can see that I have darker tones, lighter tones in there. The little lines that are on those, the ink is going to hit that differently. So it's going to really kind of emphasize those lines, which is beautiful. All right, so we're going to do that on all this. So this really easy to do, and rotating motion in a light kind of, oh, that's beautiful. Ah, love it. All right, so I'm going to do that for all the pieces. Rotating motion counterclockwise and clockwise. And you can see that this is just an easy blend over top of these pieces. It'll probably take you more time to do the die cutting than the actual inking. Oh, no, I don't know if that, no, I think that's the right way. Okay, I think I'm good. All right, I'm going to use that ink again. So I'll just leave that there. And now I'm going to just take the pieces off. I'm going to get rid of my grip mat. because it's all inky and I don't want this ink to transfer over where it shouldn't. And let's put this lovely floral together. Just put that to the side. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing as what I did before. And I'm going to grab the packaging again, just as a reminder. All right, we're gonna start on these pieces here. So this one here, again, referring to the back of the packaging. All right, so that's the first piece. All right, then we're going to go to this piece here. And this is going to fit down in this area. All right, and then this piece is going on the solid large piece. Okay, so those are the little pieces. Easy peasy, which, as long as you have that reference guide. All right. All right, so now let's go ahead and put this together. I'm not going to really take my time. I'm just going to do it. It's going to go on the same way as the last one. Now I did this blue, and I'm like, I don't think there are blue peonies, but that's okay. I saw a sample with this as blue, and I loved it, so that's kind of where I'm going on this one. All right, and then we're going to do this one. These are just the stems, the little rectangle stems, matching them up from biggest to smallest. All right, then we're going to put our stamens on. So just a big glob of glue on that little rectangle. And we're going to put 1 and 2. Oh, that yellow against that blue is gorgeous. All right, now we're going to put these pieces all on top of one another. All right, this is going to go in the center. And again, I'm going to take that overlay piece. I'm going to just give it a little bit of shaping. You don't have to do this. This is just me being me. And then glue kind of on the sides and at the very base. And that's just going to go. And my blue peony is completed. Look how gorgeous that is. So pretty. Love it. All right. We're going to put that to the side and allow that to dry. And I'm going to now, this is my card base. And I have 2 pieces of white cardstock here. We're going to use that embossing folder on here. So this little strip here, I cut at 2 1/4 by 5 1/2. So this is going to go from top to bottom. We're going to emboss this piece. And then I have a piece that I cut 2 1/2 by 5 1/2 that this is going to layer on. And we're gonna like kind of customize this to and coordinate this with all the same color ink. That's why I love using inks and just white paper, because we can make it all matchy match. All right, so the smaller piece, the 2 1/4 inch, we are going to emboss with that lovely fuchsia embossing folder. All right, so I'm going to grab that from here. Now, this is a 3D embossing folder. What does that mean? It means it is a super thick one. All right. So you got to do the sandwich for your 3D embossing. So I'm going to place this in here, and this is exactly will fit the pattern top to bottom. I am going to spritz this on the back just ever so lightly, just to help with the stretching of the paper. And I'm going to just line that up as best I can. And I'm going to run that through my machine, which is just to the left here. That was not the right sandwich. All right, so I will let you know what the sandwich is for this one, because this one is a little bit thicker than a Spellbinders 3D embossing folder. So I have, and again, I'm using the universal plate system from Spellbinders. So it's going to be the base plate and then one of your acrylic plates. All right. So normally we always do the base plate, and then you have your adapter plate with the universal plate system. You're not going to use this. This one's a little too thick. This is the one we would use for 3D embossing folders with Spellbinders. You are just going to use one of your regular acrylic plates. All right. Oh my gosh, this is stunning. All right. Take a look at that. Look how freaking beautiful. Sorry, that's just unbelievable. Beautiful. Let's all just take a moment right now. That is gorgeous. Again, that is called the Fuchsia Cascade from Memory Box. Go get it, guys, before it sells out. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this one here I do want to highlight with some of that blue ink. All right, so I'm going to take my brush. All right, I'm not going to add any ink onto here. There's probably enough ink just to highlight this. All right, so just rotating motions, very light touch. So I'm going to do clockwise, and then I'm going to go counterclockwise. And when you do this with a larger brush and a very light touch, you are going to highlight all kind of just the raised bits and pieces. All right, so again, light touch. I know that's usually hard for me because I usually have I go a little bit harder, but take a look how beautiful this is. So pretty. All right, so I've just taken whatever ink was left on my brush and I just highlighted that embossing. Gorgeous. All right, now I'm going to take that piece that was 2.5, and because I want everything to matchy match, all right, now I could probably find a cardstock color that is very similar, but I want matchy match. So I'm just going to use white cardstock and the ink and make my own custom colored cardstock. So I'm going to grab my brush now. I'm going to grab the same ink. And now I'm going to go pretty heavy-handed. All right. And you don't have to do the whole panel. You just need to do the edges. All right. Because we're going to layer the two pieces, the embossing panel on top of this. All right. So I just want to make sure that my edges are nicely colored. All right. Isn't that a beautiful color? Love it. All right. Woo. I'm just going to clean my mat here. Okay. Let's put this card together now. All right, so we have our embossed panel, our custom colored, we have what is going to be our card front, and we've got our floral, and then we're going to add some butterflies. All right, so I'm going to grab my embossed panel and we are going to layer this on. So we're only actually, I need to trim this one. We are only going to have that little blue border on the left and the right. So I am going to attach and then trim. Yeah, that looks good there. Okay. And let's grab my glue. Normally I would use a tape runner on here, but my tape runner, I have not gotten a refill for it. So glue it will be. So just lining that up. Okay. Now before I cut that, trim that, I'm just going to let that glue set. I don't want anything shifting on me, but look how beautiful that is. All right, so now everything is tone on tone. Love it. All right, that should be good now. Let me just grab my paper trimmer. Rolling away. All right. And let's trim that now. Now, it went a little shorter because of the embossing. That usually stretches the paper a little bit. So I'm just going to clean up my edges here. And so we're going to do this at 5 3/8. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this panel here and I'm going to cut this at 5 3/8. There's always a method to my madness, everyone. And then we're going to cut that to 4 1/8. Ooh, yes. Oops, I think I just did that a little too short. Okay, we're going to do this at 5 1/4 now because I cut it just a little too short. All right, no worries. And you'll see what I'm doing. Just because that embossing shortened it up, I couldn't get the full 5 1/2. So we are now going to just do an extra layer. That is all. Okay. I will go through the measurements on here again. So I trimmed now this to 5 1/4, all right, in length, and then I cut a white panel that is 4 by 5 1/4. This now is going to layer on this, and then this will layer onto your card front, and you'll have that kind of double white layer, which is very pretty. All right, look how beautiful that is, the white and the blue. Okay, so let's go ahead and attach this on. So this one here I'm going to glue on, okay, and then this panel I'm going to pop up. All right, so we're going to shift this a little bit to the left-hand side. So maybe about a 1/2 inch from the left-hand side is kind of what I'm at. Just have a little bit of a rough edge here. I'm just going to clean up. There we go. All right, look how beautiful that is. Stunning. All right, and now I'm going to pop this one up. So I'm just going to grab my foam tape. And we're going to pop up this whole panel. Okay. I can't wait to show you the layout. I'm excited about that. I think we always tend to forget, die cuts can be used on layouts as well. And this one here, because it's got such bulk to it, it will work really nicely on a layout. All right, so I'm going to frame this in. And now we've got that extra dimension on there. All right, so beautiful. All right, now let's take our floral. All right, and do I want it? Yeah, I think I'm going to pop it up here, and then we're going to add some butterflies. Look how gorgeous that is. All right. Again, I'm going to pop it up. I'm going to give it a little bit of shaping here. All right. Again, I'm going to concentrate those foam adhesives more to the center of this. And I don't know if I cut any leaves for this. Okay, so let's put, because I think it needs a little bit of a leaf there. Now, this die doesn't come with a leaf, but you know, we have so many floral dies in our collection. So, all right, do I want to? No, I think I'm going to do the wildlife and wild leaf, and I'm going to leave it white, I think. Yeah, I'm going to leave it white. Okay, so I'm just going to rip off that stem. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue at the base of this, and we're going to just slide this in, keeping in within the parameters of that card front. And then I have this little one here too, and I think I'm just going to bring it, yeah, down in this area. Yep, perfect. All right, so again, a little bit of glue. I'm going to just tuck that in, making sure that is not hanging off the edge of the card. All right, let's take a, oop, that one, the glue did not set yet. It's just because it's not hitting where it needs to with the embossing. Okay, I don't know where the end of the stem is. So we'll just put lots of pressure on it. All right, we should be good. I just have a little bit of a blue fleck on there. I just want to get rid of. Paper fiber. All right, so there is that. And now we have butterflies. All right, so we still have room for a nice little greeting. I wanted to show you those butterflies. So the butterflies from this are sweet and dainty. All right, and they are probably exact size of what's on the packaging here. So this I know is a larger one. Yeah, it's exact sizing. So some of them will, the smaller ones here, the two smaller ones will be complete. They will cut out at once, cut out the full body, but the larger ones will cut the top wings and the bottom wings. All right. And then you have the bodies. All right. So they're a little finicky, I'm not gonna lie. All right. But we're going to do these blue as well. So I'm going to grab my grip mat. Let's stick these on. Again, I will not need any more ink from what's on here just to color them. Okay. All right. So there's that. And we might as well do the bodies in. What did I do with the bodies? Oh, they're there. I was like, they were there. All right. So the bodies, like I said, are really tiny. So you want to be careful you don't lose them. And I want these a little bit darker than the wings. So, all right. All right, so let's position these little butterflies. All right, so the top is just gonna overlay on the, I'm gonna bring this up to the camera, onto the bottom ones, all right? So I'm just gonna put a dot of glue in the center of the bottom, in the center where the wings meet, and I'm gonna lay this over top, all right? I'm gonna do that for both of them. So just a little spot of glue on that bottom wing, and then take the top wings and layer over top. Okay, I'm going to do that for both of them. So bottom wing, a little dot of glue right in the center, and then I'm going to take the top wings and glue, get a little too much glue there, right over top. And then I'm going to put a spot of glue right in the center again, and then just lay the body down. They're a little finicky, but they're beautiful when they are done. Just giving it a little extra push. All right, so now once that glue is dry, you can pop up these wings, and because you can do each of this set of wings at different heights, they really are beautiful. Let me just pull these up. All right, so you can kind of see our little fluttering butterflies. Look how pretty they are. Stunning. Okay, now let's go ahead and attach these on. All right, and then I can still put my sentiment there. Yep, I think that will work. All right, I'm not going to worry about popping these up. I'm just going to put glue on the back side, then stick them down and let the glue do its work. And then we can always fluff up the petals or the wings after. You'll notice I'm using the center of my tweezers to really kind of put that in place, but look how pretty that is. Gorgeous. Love that. All right, so that is card number 2. All right. I'm going to start card number 3. I'm just looking at the time right now. I do want to get to the layout. So, I'll start with card number 3, and this one here I wasn't really going to do, but because I have the pieces here and I'm having too much fun, I'm going to start it anyways. All right, so there's card number 2. All right, so this one here, I did the buds, and I haven't shown you the buds, so maybe that's what I should be doing. All right, we're going to do kind of a multi-colored floral on this one. So we're going to blend a couple of colors together to create a really lovely look here. Okay, so I ran out of water. All right. Now for the layout, it's really, I'm just going to assemble. I did all the prep work, so it shouldn't take me that long. So let's really concentrate on these buds here. But I do want to do some blending. So I'm going to grab all my pieces here. This is a bud here. So the bud comes with leaves. And stems. Okay, so that is a bud. So the die itself will create 2 buds, 2 stemmed buds. So we've got our stems. All right, let's go to this now. Now, I did not pick out colors for this. I forgot to. So I'm going to do yellow. Okay, let's get a green for the stems. Camouflage will be too dark. Minty too light. I seem to be missing a color here. Where are the rest of my inks? All right, minty it might have to be, because I don't know. Well, you know what? I have a couple of Gina K inks here, so let's just use them. All right. Only because they're here, and that's going to be a nicer color palette. So, all right. So, as you know, we've been kind of playing around with Gina K inks. Or Gina K brand. And yes, we have made the decisions. We will start carrying the minis. All right. We are just finalizing our order, and then we will be getting them in the next couple weeks. All right. So exciting news, everyone. So we might as well use them, right? Okay, so let's go ahead. We're gonna do kind of a blend on these elements. I'm gonna start with the leaves. These again are coming from the buds. All right, so I'm just gonna pull that die out just so again you can see it. All right, I just think they're beautiful on their own, all right, because they will have that impact. They're still large, but they go really nicely with the peony as well. So again, they are going to have the layering guide on the back, so I'm just going to hold that there. All right, I'm going to need smaller brushes. Okay, let's go to it. I'm going to start with my lighter color. This one is called Apple Mint. All right, so I'm just going to pick some of this up. And ooh, that's a pretty color. That is a lovely color. And again, I'm just going to put a little bit of that green right on the stem. All right, I'm going to go in with the another color and blend over top of it as well. All right, so not a big deal if you don't have full coverage. All right, so these are juicy. That's what everyone tells me. These inks are awesome, nice and juicy, great for blending. And there is a little kind of learning curve with the inks because they will go on, and as they dry, they saturate the paper and then they will lighten up. So they are lovely. All right. The more I work with them, the better I'm loving them. All right. So I'm just going on the leaves and adding that first layer of color, which is the lighter color. I'm kind of going from the center and moving to the outside of the petal. And I am using a smaller brush for this because it's a smaller item. All right, then we have kind of, I don't know what these are called, but these are kind of, these are these, all right, where the petals are going to come out of the bud. All right, so we're going to color those. Okay, so those are, the first color is done. And now I'm going to use the same blending brush. And now we're going to use Jelly Bean Green. And now we're going to, I'm going to start on the leaves. And again, I'm going to add that darker color kind of in the center and work my way out. I'm not going right to the edge. All right, and you can see that these blend beautifully. Oh my goodness. All right, let me just raise this up a little bit so you can kind of see. Look at that beautiful blend. Easy peasy. All right, so those are the leaves. We're going to add them a little bit to the base of this. And then a little bit to my stems. Now I am going to go right over top the stems because I think I'm cutting these stems in half if I'm even using these. So I want to make sure I just have that shading on all of them. All right, those are done. Green pieces done. Just going to wipe up this mess. And let's go to our buds and our petals. Oh, let's do our stamens first. Stamens, we are going to do yellow. That is not yellow. That is Jelly Bean Green. Oh, no. Nope. That is the lid for Jelly Bean Green. All right. This is yellow. And this is called Lemon Drop. And I might have had a little bit of green ink on there because it looks more limey. I'm picking up ink from the base. That's okay. Just added a little yellow to those. Okay, let's move those out of the way. Now let's do, I need to clean out this green. I can still see it. Okay, now much better. Okay, let's do these pieces here. All right, so again, these are going to be, I'm doing a couple of tones here. I'm going to do Innocent Pink and Dusty Rose. All right, Now I'm going to go in with the lighter color with the bigger brush, and then I'm going to use a smaller brush to do the details and the blending. All right. So this is going to be kind of our initial color. So I'm just going to load up my brush. All right. And oh, that's pretty. Oh, and oh, that is a beautiful color. Oh my gosh. Innocent pink. It's like a corally pink. It's beautiful. All right. So this is easy coloring. And then when we do the blending on here, we're going to just add that with a smaller brush and be a little bit more concentrated on the areas we're applying it to, okay? Oh my gosh. So pretty. Okay, I am happy with that. But now I'm thinking I should do yellow. All right, well, I'm gonna go, I am just going to kind of go off I'm gonna bring in daffodil, and I want to bring in some yellow on here too. And I'm just, oh yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna add a little bit of yellow, kind of maybe at the tops of these guys. And I'm using a bigger brush. I'm still gonna go in with a smaller brush with the, so I'm just kind of doing the outer kind of edges. As you can see, I'm not really, I don't know, I'm just doing it, all right? I did have a plan, and now I'm just going rogue. Okay, so I've added yellow, and we've got this beautiful kind of corally, reminds me of a sunset. All right, now we're going to go in and do a little bit more detailed work. All right, so I'm going to grab a pink brush here, and we're going to go in with Dusty Rose now. And I'm going to bring this color kind of from the center out. So I'm being a little bit more, ooh, this is really saturated. All right, so let's start on this piece here. This is the center here. So in rotating motions, I'm just going to bring out that color. And now look at the color we have for this lovely peony. Gorgeous. All right. So again, each of the pieces, I'm going to do that. All right. So depending on the piece and how big it is, will depend on how much ink I'm going to apply and how far I'm applying it. Oh my God, gorgeous. All right. So this one is a little bit smaller, so I don't want to go as heavy. I'm just going to try to keep these pieces together now. So again, we're just adding a little bit of shading. So those go together. All right, and now this one here, I'm going to kind of do the bottom and bring it up the edge. We're not going to see too much of the base of this one. That yellow really added. Just saying. Yellow is one of those colors that if you need to brighten something up, add a little layer of yellow on top of it. It is awesome. Okay, now I've got to put this one together. I wasn't going to on camera, but I'm going to because I think this is going to be gorgeous with all these colors. At least in my head, it's going to be gorgeous. All right, those go together. All right, then the little pieces. These ones I'm going to go really strong with the pink because these are kind of like the kind of folded over petals. So we really want them to be kind of that darker. So I'm going over the whole thing with those. Ooh, that one went on a little strong. Little strong. And last but not least, All right, those are the little petal edges. All right, now we're going to do the buds. And these ones I'm going to go from the bottom up. And usually buds are typically a little bit darker than a full like floral. So we're going to go a little bit heavier on this layers and bringing that color kind of up a little bit more. Okay. So they're going to be more of this kind of pinky tone. All right, coloring done. Okay, now let's put this beauty together. Okay. So again, I'm going to refer back to the guide at the back here as to where these little pieces go. But I typically now, because I've done a few, know where they go. Okay, that piece is done. And our solid piece for this little guy. All right, now is all the easy layering. We're going to start with those solid pieces. Okay, matching up. Actually, no, I'll start with the big pieces here. All right, so a little bit of glue. This ink, when it dries, it just, honestly, you got to wait till it dries to get the full beauty of these inks. Oh my gosh. I am just in love. In love with my color combination here, guys. Sometimes I amaze myself. All right, those together. All right, let's do these now. And then we will do the buds. And I'll show you how they are placed together. I'm not going to go over how to layer these. I've done that in the last two cards. So I'm just really quickly putting these together. Yeah, they went a little green, my stamen, because I didn't clean off the craft mat very well, but that's okay. Okay. All right, last layer for the flower. And stunning. I'll bring this up to the camera in a second. I'm just going to wait for that glue to tack down. Look at that. Oh, lovely. So, so pretty. All right, put that to the side. All right, let's do the buds. All right, so we're going to create two buds here. All right, so there are kind of shapes here. All right, so I'm going to just here. So one's going to create kind of that bigger one. So this one here is going to start with this here, the bigger one. And then you're going to have another one, and you'll notice at the bottom, the curvature will be the same. So it's going to be that one and then this one. So those three pieces, and again, I'm just following the guide that's on the back, and then we go biggest, all right, the middle piece, and then that petal piece there on top. Then we're going to have the two little bases, and then we have our leaves and our stems. All right, so again, you're going to start with the biggest one, and I'm going to grab the middle piece, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue at the bottom, and I'm going to line up those bottoms. All right, They will match perfectly. All right, so there's that. And then the same thing with this one, the next layer, I'm going to grab that, and this will match up perfectly at the bottom. And there is our bud. And then you're going to grab the little green piece here, and that will match up perfectly. And there is our bud. Really simple to do. And we're going to do the same thing with the second one. Again, you're always going to be lining up the bottom. They will match up. All right, so there are our buds. So pretty. All right, now, okay, I'm going to show you how to attach the leaves. Now the leaves are going to come, they're going to go, they're going to be pointing down. So I'm just going to put a little spot of glue kind of in the center of them. I'm going to take my bud and just layer it on top. Do the same thing with the other one. Layer it on top. All right, and then the stems, depending on how you want them, either curving to the left or the right, and then you're just going to attach them. So I'm actually probably just going to cut one in half here because I don't need both. All right, so we're going to have one curving one way, one curving the other way. And I'm going to put a spot of glue at the ends and then just place my bud, kind of center it on, let the glue do its thing. All right, place it and don't fiddle faddle with it. Just let the glue do its thing. And there are our two buds. So pretty. Okay, now what was I going to do with these ones? So let's go ahead and grab that lovely die, the scalloped one, and let's just cut a base from this one. Let's go one in. And then we will get to the layout. Dropping everything. Dropping everything. Okay, so this is one down. All right, so we did on our last card, we did the largest one. This is the second largest one. I'm just going to poke out the innards. My first one, they fell out all of them, except for a couple of them. This one I got to do a little extra work here. All right, look how beautiful that is. Ah, love it. Okay, this is going to look stunning on here. All right, so now we're going to have these coming out from here. All right, something like so. Look how gorgeous that is. Oh, let's all just take a moment. That is so pretty. All right, let's go ahead and attach these. All right, so I'm just going to go with a couple of foam adhesives in the center here. And because I'm tucking those buds in, I don't want to put too many foam adhesives in the center. So I'm just going to put 2. That should be enough. And then I'm going to put this at an angle coming from the left bottom corner, and it's slightly overhanging the edges. Okay, and then these ones here, I am going to put a foam adhesive behind the heads of these, and I'm covering where the stem meets the there. So it's really going to just extra support for that stem. And you know me, I'm going to shape these little petals. I'm just going to give them some curvature. All right. Now I don't even have to put glue behind there because that foam adhesive is going to stick nicely. All right, so there is our first one. And let's go ahead and shape these petals. And I want room for my sentiment, so I put that right. Oop, would help to take the backing off your foam. Okay, so let's put that kind of here. That gives me room for a sentiment there. And then of course we can then layer this onto a white card. I can do a pretty kind of pink tone underneath there if I wanted to, but look how beautiful that is. I also had, I mean, we could put this in here as well. Okay, we're gonna just keep on adding. All right, we're gonna go ahead and ink these ones just because I have them. I'm just loving this. All right, so these are the wild leaves. Again, we're going to color these. So I'm gonna grab the darker green, and I'm doing this right on there. And I'm just going to add a layer of green on here. And then I'm going to put a little bit of yellow on here. All right, yellow always brightens things up. So I'm going to go in and just add a little bit of yellow here and there. Okay. Beautiful. I'll bring these up to the camera in a second. All right, so now we've just added a bit of yellow on there, and it's just brighten that green up. All right, so there, whoop, there we go. Pretty. Okay. Now let's put that in our little card here. I just took the stem off of it just so it won't get caught up on my foam adhesive. All right, that filled that up nicely. All right, look how beautiful that is. All right, I could still put a sentiment on there. I could pop it up, or I could put this, raise it up and put my sentiment there. I could put a little sentiment here, or maybe we just don't put a sentiment. But look how beautiful that is. All right, so that's multi inks on there to make a multicolored floral. Gorgeous. All right, let me just tidy up real quickly. And then I'm going to bring out the layout here. So I don't need inks or anything. So just going to move things out of the way. And like I said, I've already done the assembly of the florals, and it's just the assembly of the layout that I need to do. So all right. Okay. So this one I did a yellow and kind of spring green feel to it. I used Lawn Fawn papers here. So as you can see, I got my florals already done. It's a really quick and simple layout. And so the two pattern papers I used the, this is the Blissful Blossoms 12 by 12 paper from Lawn Fawn in the marigold. And then this is the newest release from Lawn Fawn. So this was the last release. This is the newest release. And this is Giddy for Gingham. And this is called Sandwiches, which is that beautiful spring green gingham. And I used the diagonal side of this one here. All right. So we've got the marigold, the florals, and then the Sandwiches gingham. All right. So I just cut strips. All right. So I got a piece of 12 by 12 white cardstock here. And then I just cut, I forget now what I did, 2 3/4 by 10 3/4 of the gingham. All right. And then I mounted it on a strip that was 3 by 11. All right. 3 by 11. Okay, so and that's going to go right down here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and glue that on. So keeping my spacing, and it's about a 1/2 inch from the bottom and left and right. All right, so that's going to go down. Easy peasy. All right, and then my marigold is, I forget now. 7 3/4, 7 3/4 by 11, and no, by 7 3/4 by 10 3/4, and then my cardstock behind it is 11 by 8. All right, and then that is going to get butt up against that green gingham. All right, so we've got a nice kind of springtime base for our layout. All right, so there's that. All right, so there is our lovely base. Easy. All right. All right, then this one here is going to house a 4 by 6 picture on the top here. And I'm going to switch that maybe just a little bit to the right-hand side. And then I love when I use like different shaped dies for my photos. All right, so now I'm going to use circles. So this was just a simple circle die, and I cut the matte out of coordinating cardstock, and then the white would be what I would cut with my pictures. All right, so we're going to now center these along the bottom here. All right, and that's going to be kind of our photo layout. All right, so we're going to house 4 photos on here, 1 large one, and then 3 little accent pictures. All right, and then we're going to decorate this with florals. All right, so I'm going to get these all down. So we're going to put these down flat. Again, whenever I do anything like this on a layout, I will typically only put my adhesive in the center. This way I have things to tuck in. All right, if I have things, that gives me the opportunity to tuck them in. So I'm going to keep my spacing kind of the same between from the outer edges, and then I'll center this one in between. All right, so those are my circular photo mats. All right, and then this one here, I am going to pop up. So I'm just going to grab my foam adhesive. Again, I'm going to keep my foam kind of towards, I still have areas that I can tuck things in. Don't put it right up to the edges. All right, and let's push this, and I'm going to keep my spacing kind of the same from the top as to the side here. Looks good. Let me just hold this up. So, yep. Okay. So there's my base of this. All right. So just a little bit of pattern paper, some cardstock, and got my photo mats. All right. So now let's take a look at the floral. So like I said, I've already put these together, and I did this all in yellow. If I wanted to, I could take my Copic marker again and just deepen up those stamens. So I'm just going to grab that, and I'm just going to hit the kind of the pollen just to give it a little deeper yellow. I should have done this prior to putting them together, but there is that one. And that one. All right, so I did 2 large florals. All right, those peonies, did them the same way, just out of yellow cardstock. And then I made a smaller one. So this is kind of like a half floral, all right? So it's still not has not opened up. So what I did to create this one is I just omitted those larger ones in the back, all right? So this has just got the solid ones layered together and then the overlay over top. So that made a smaller one, all right? So we got 2 large ones, 1 smaller one, and then I did 4 buds, all right? I left the stems off of them, all right? And then I cut extra stems and leaves, all right? Those are fillers, as I call them, all right? So let's go ahead and start putting this together. So I thought it would be kind of fun to have those larger florals kind of surrounding our photo mat here, right? So one I'm going to kind of slip underneath and one I'm going to overlap to create a nice cluster there. And then I thought we could have a little bud over here. And then to balance this one off, we want a little bit more heaviness over here. So I'm going to put this one here. I might just bend the florals or the leaves a little bit. And we're going to create kind of a cluster down in this area using that half floral and maybe another bud. Yeah, that's it. So I'm on this one. We might as well use this one too. So let's just put that there. Yeah, okay. And then we'll use the extra leaves and tuck in. All right, so let's just place this down. So this one here, because we're tucking it underneath the photo mat, is going to go down flat. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue here and I'm going to just angle it. So this one is kind of facing more upright. Okay, this one here, because we're going to layer it a little bit on top of the photo mat, I am going to put some foam adhesive just in the center. And this one here, I want to cover the edge of the photo mat and we want to overlap this one. All right, so so there is that. Okay, now this little bud here, I'm going to stick right in there. All right, I love these little leaves because they're delicate and so that they will bend to the position I want them to, so which is kind of cool. So I'm just kind of bending them a little upright and we're going to tuck that right in like so. All right. So pretty. All right. We're going to just continue with these ones. I'm going to put foam behind them. And then this one here is just going to kind of go around that circle there. Foam adhesive on this one. I don't want to cover too much of the photo there, so I'm just going to bring that down a little bit. All right. I mean, that was quick and simple. Look how effective that is. All right, let's just grab some extra leaves now. This one here, I may just put a couple of leaves just coming out from that main floral. These are going to go down flat. So I'm just going to tuck that in. All right, this one is okay. I think we're good there. And let's just add some extra leaves in. And you know what? I'm going to change this one just a tad bit. I want the leaves to go the other way just to match. You know what? I'm going to have them coming out from this bottom now, I think. Yeah, I like that better, I think. Okay, back to these leaves. Again, just going to add a little bit at that base. And then we just want them kind of coming out, just adding a little greenery. Okay, maybe one set at the top, and then this one is done. So pretty. All right. Okay. All right, that layout is done. I mean, that was pretty simple. I know the assembly, I had all the assembly, but just really effective to be able to use those memory box peonies because they have such substance to it. And again, room for a title here if you wanted to. Um, you can also put a little title here, but look how beautiful that turned out. All right, so let's bring back all the things we did this evening. All right, so we have the layout, our multi-inked peony, our one-inked peony, and then using colored cardstock. All right, so this is Memory Box. This is, again, I'm just going to go over the products I used. Sorry, it's just in a pile. All right, so we used the oval eyelet rectangle frames. We used the fuchsia cascade embossing folder on this card here. We had the wild leaves. We had the brilliant butterflies we used. And last but not least, center of our attention, or center stage, is the refined peony bloom and then the peony bud duo. All right, so that is it for What's Up Wednesday, using some really fantastic memory box dies to create some cards and a layout. Hope you enjoyed this evening. Hopefully you learned a thing or two. And look how beautiful they are. So pretty. All right, thanks for joining us live as well as on the rewatch. Like I said, we really appreciate you watching. And all these items are available on our website at www.stamplicity.ca. And if you have any questions regarding any of the techniques or products I used, you know where to find us. You can message us on our Facebook page or email us. All that information is available on our website. So until next time, everyone, have yourself a fabulous evening, and we'll be back soon. Bye.